Albania has had a very long and troubled history, with conquest, independence, and reconquest going in a long-lasting cycle for centuries. While the people have had a very long history, the modern nation we see today is a relatively new creation. In today's episode, we will be looking at the war that cemented Albanian independence, the Vjora War. Before looking at this war itself, we must first look at the Albanians' role during the First World War. This will be a brief overlook, but if you're interested in learning more, I have an episode about Albania during the First World War that you can go to by clicking on the card here. The Young Turk Revolution in 1908 was one of the many catalysts for an Albanian rebellion against the Ottoman Empire. The changes to the Albanian section of the empire, including the raising in taxes, forced conscription, and other issues, caused the Albanians to rise up in revolt, once in 1910 and again in 1912. The revolt of 1912 was caused by not only the failure during the Italo-Turkish War, but also by the Balkan War, with Albanian land and cities being occupied in all directions by Serbs, Greeks, Montenegrins, and Bulgarians. This led to the Albanian Declaration of Independence on November the 28th of 1912. Independence wasn't recognized in any capacity until the Treaty of Bucharest in May the following year. However, only about 40% of the ethnic Albanian land was incorporated into the state, and most of the nation was occupied by Great Powers' forces, each vying for control over the region. A government was eventually formed under former Minister of War Esad Pasha. The Greeks soon invaded from the south with the support of the British and Muslim leaders, as well as political factions opposed to Pasha, and they rose up in central Albania near Kuria. These forces managed to pin Pasha at the nation's capital of Durazzo by late November of 1914. Pasha was rescued by Italian warships, and Italy itself invaded Valona in late December, soon holding the coastline from Valona to Durazzo. No great power opposed this move, as they wished Italy to join their side. When the Pact of London was signed in April of 1915 that saw Italian entry into the war, they were given central Albania as a protectorate, controlling the whole region south of Vjora, while the Serbs occupied the northern section and the Greeks the southern section. In June of 1917, the Italians declared Albanian independence and ousted Pasha for power while he was in exile in France. The French occupational zones had largely been left to their own day-to-day administrative devices for months now, and the occupied French region joined this Albanian state. By late November, all of Albania was under Entente control. Once the war was over, Albania was still left without a recognized government, and many in the nation feared partition between the Italians, Greeks, and the newly formed nation of Yugoslavia. US President Woodrow Wilson spoke up for the nation, garnering support that caused both the Greeks and Yugoslavians to drop their claims. The Italians still had large occupational and garrison forces in the region, however, and no power really tried to force them to give up their claims. Italian Prime Minister Francisco Severni hoped to keep Albania as a protectorate, as was stated in the Treaty of London in 1915, and attempted to secure control over the whole of Albania, as the previous two regional powers had banned their claims. This led to the start of the Vjora War on June the 4th of 1920. A defense committee was established in Vjora itself the months prior. This committee was meant to organize the liberation war directly, but largely focused on sabotage and supply-related roles in the city. The Albanian government didn't involve itself directly with this conflict, with their main focus being on keeping support for the Albanian state around the world, especially in the British. They attempted to gain guarantees from Yugoslavia and Greece that they wouldn't invade in the advent of a full-out war with Italy. Yugoslavia was quick to offer assurance of this, but the Greek army was slowly invading towards Corsia, which the French had recently departed from. A number of militant bands, as well as regular troops from the Tirani government, soon occupied the whole Corsia region, proclaiming its merger with the Albanian state. The Greeks at this time halted the invasion, as the war in Asia Minor required their full focus, and granted the guarantees that had been requested. The British gave vague promises of support, but little came of it. They still hoped to have an Albanian state under the control of the great powers, as they wanted to use Albania as a major source of oil for Britain and France. The Italians rejected an ultimatum sent to them to leave Vjora, and a defense committee was established and an army raised under Chazim Kasuli. The main nucleus of this army was a militia battalion that had been trained and equipped by the Italians who later defected. These men numbered some 400 out of the raised army of 4,000 within the vicinity of Vjora. The Albanian government didn't officially declare war against the Italians, as they were heavily feared that doing so would risk the nation's credibility with other powers, and give the Yugoslavians or Greeks a reason to invade. Instead, the future King Zog, who was the Minister of Interior, organized 4,000 Albanian irregulars to aid the Defense Committee, with the goal of attacking Italian outlying positions, taking over small garrisons, capturing arms, which was severely lacking, and caused disruption back at home. All total, the Albanians had around 20,000 men under the overall command of Ahmet Lipinka. The Italians, meanwhile, had around 15,000 men within the city, and around another 5,000 in the outer region under the overall command of Sentimino Piccini. They were further augmented by 240 howitzers of all sizes, 5 aircraft, and a naval detachment numbering a dozen warships. On June the 5th, the Albanians attacked Italian positions all around the area, and within the day most of the garrisons had been taken, but the positions at Kota, Shuman, and Liguria lasted throughout the night, with Tapiena being the last to hold even with 5 days of heavy fighting. With the fall of these positions, the whole region except for Vjora and Caniena had been liberated. A full-on assault was launched against Vjora in combination with an armed uprising in the city. While this attack failed, the implications of this attack proved to be a breaking point back in Italy. Unrest in Trieste, Bari, and Ancona eventually resulted in demonstrations, and they were violently put down. They did prevent any more reinforcements from reaching Vjora, and massive protests further engulfed the major cities. The Italians launched a counterattack on the 18th, but it failed with heavy losses, plummeting army morale and leading to the collapse of Tepiena. On the 28th, the new government under Gaviano Galiti gave up claims to the whole of Albania outside of Vjora itself and opened up negotiations with the Tiarani government. A fallout occurred in mid-July, where Albanian forces once again launched a major assault against Vjora, reaching the outskirts of the city, but suffering nearly 3,000 casualties. A peace treaty between Italy and Albania was reached on August 2nd, saying that Italy will give up all claims to Albanian land outside of the island of Sasano, which they had under occupation until 1943, and recognize Albanian independence based along the 1913 borders. This treaty proved critical, as it set the precedent for recognition by the rest of the Western powers at the Paris Peace Conference. I hope you enjoyed the brief video into one of the more obscure wars during the interwar period. Again, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about Albania during the First World War, click here for the video I did about that. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time.